Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Okay, so why is strategic revenue really important? Strategic revenue is really important because small hinges swing really big doors in your business. So the success and failure of your business is dependent upon a small number of accounts that you've got now, and it's dependent upon your ability to get another small number of accounts similar in profile to the ones you've got now. That's it. So I've got a question for you. What would happen if you lost a big elephant? An elephant is strategic revenue. It's one of your top 5 or one of your top 10 accounts. So what would happen to your business if you lost one of those? Is it possible for a lot of people that you'd go from making money to losing money?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the reality in your business. Now, every week, and actually I'll tell you a story very quickly. About 4 or 5 years ago, I started a business called Business Growth Advisors. It was doing this type of work, but it was doing it across lots of different markets because I'd exited the last business I was in. I was trying to work out what I was going to do next, and I love this type of work, so I'll do this for a while and see what opportunities occur for me. And I was, one of the industries I was doing a bit of work was the printing industry. Had a printer rang me up, said, I'd like you to come along and talk to me. I think you could help us. So we set up an appointment, which is about 8 or 9 days forward. About 4 days later, he rang me up and said, we need to cancel the appointment. I'm thinking, that's impressively bad. Haven't even got to see him, and the appointment was being cancelled. So I said, John, not being his name, but I said, John, what's happened? And he said, we've just lost our biggest account. They're about 60% of our business. There's nothing we can do to recover the account, and there's no way we can re-engineer the business that quickly to keep the business going, so we've just decided to put the business into administration. Do you think that might be happening nearly every week in the UK? I mean, pretty much nearly every week. A company loses one single account that the business is dependent upon, and the whole show is over. That's really, really, really sad. Now, you lose accounts for 2 different reasons. You lose accounts for reasons completely outside your control, and you lose accounts for reasons that are under your control. So here's a terrible situation to be in. You lose a big account and you're sitting there and you're having this conversation with yourself that goes along these lines. I wish I had done this, done that, seen them more, spent more time with them, sold a little bit deeper, built a longer relationship, built more relationships, so my relationship wasn't just dependent on one person. Okay? You do not want to be having this conversation where you're going, living in regret, I wish I had What you want to do is say, I did everything that was humanly possible and we kept the account and we did it proactively in advance. So we weren't just reacting, we were proactive in advance. Or you go and we kept the account, or we did everything we can and it was completely outside our control, i.e. the business moved to France, or they went into administration, or they got bought out by somebody else and now all the buying is done in Edinburgh instead of in wherever you are. Does it make sense? Some things you just cannot control. But some things, in fact, a surprising number of things, you can control. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's good. Okay. So we're going to introduce you to a concept called the metals model. We'll get into this kind of deeper over the next hour or so. The thing about your platinum accounts, so if we spoke about this when we were doing lifetime value of the customers, platinum, gold, and silver. I'll explain this in depth and explain to you how to do it in your business. Your best customers are your competitors' best prospects. They are targeting your accounts because the market is shrinking, not growing. Is that true? Yeah. Market's shrinking right now. So you remember we said when we showed you one of the slides at the beginning, we're talking about what's happening in the industry, and we had the picture of the Mission Impossible guy talking about stealing your accounts, or you, if you wanted to grow, having to steal accounts from somebody else. Remember we're having that conversation? Yeah, do you remember that conversation? Yeah. You remember the slides? Yeah. So make sure you want to keeping up with me. So in the African plains, when the sun comes up, there's a lion, wakes up when the sun comes up, and he's hungry and he's got some lion cubs to feed. So when the sun comes up in the morning, he's got to be up and running when the sun comes up, and he's got to outrun the fastest gazelle on the plains if he wants to eat. Make sense? And he wants to feed his cubs. Also when the sun comes up on the African plains, there's a gazelle. And the gazelle needs to stay alive. And the gazelle needs to outrun the lion. So here's the thing you need to think about. When the sun comes up, lion or gazelle, you had better be running. Make sense? So what that means in this context is you need to be doing things with your platinum accounts, some of which you may be doing now, some of which you may be doing on an ad hoc basis, some of which you may not be doing at all, some of which you hear me, you'll say and you go, okay, that sounds like it might take a little bit of effort. It will take a little bit of effort. Absolutely, it's going to take a bit of effort. You'll be doing it, your competitors won't. You'll have a competitive advantage over your competition. You'll have the slight edge. You'll have the slight edge that gives you another 2, 3, 4, 5%. You know, Alison asked a great question earlier this morning. You've done everything you can and they're still trying to price shop you. This is stuff you do before you even get to that conversation. So if you're on the Niagara River and you come around the bend and you go, oh, there's a rather large waterfall up there called Niagara Falls, and you're in a boat with one oar, that's called a little bit too late. Where you want to be rowing is 2 or 3 miles upstream when you've got some chance of getting to shore or doing something different. You don't want to be leaving it until it's too late. So here's what you want to pay note of. You saw this earlier slightly differently. Watch carefully. Is that true? In pretty much every business, doesn't matter what the business is, and it doesn't matter what the industry is. That's true in pretty much every case. Small hinges swing. Did everybody get the buyer's pyramid tool? That Excel analysis? Have you run the analysis? Pretty simple tools, good tool. My pleasure, by the way. Those tools take a lot of my intellectual capital to try and figure out how to do them and make them really simple, and then I have to pay somebody to develop them. So completely unnecessary. I don't need to do it. I just say, go in an Excel spreadsheet, analyze your accounts. But I want to make it easy for you. It takes time, it takes effort. I'll deal with questions at the end. So as you're getting questions, catch them on your question page. We'll deal with them at the right time. So we'll talk about the buyer's pyramid tool in just a second. So what you've got is, you've got the 80-20 analysis that we spoke about, 20% of your customers, 80% of your revenue. But the frightening thing is you've got 80% of your customers only giving you 20% of your revenue. So when I started doing this analysis with customers originally, I discovered this rule, the 80-20, which I was already familiar with, so I was looking for that. But here was the other one I discovered, which is very, very surprising. Certainly surprised me. I call this the 5-50 and the 55 rule. What's it called? The 5-50 and the 55. You need to get this into neurology. It's called the 5-50 and the 55. Nice and loud. The 5-50 and the 55. Here's what the 5-50 and the 55 says. 5% of your customers, 5%. So if you've got 100 customers, 5 of them are giving you half of your money. So 5 of them are giving you half of your money. Now, I'm not talking about profitability. I'm just talking revenue at this stage. 50% of your customers, so half of your customer database is only giving you 5% of your revenue. When you did the buyer's pyramid tool analysis, did you discover that might be true in your business? Who looked at that? Did anybody look at that analysis? Just raise your hands if you looked at that analysis. And was that roughly the equation in your business? Yeah, just raise your hands if you did the analysis and that's what it looked like. Okay, so it's pretty much like that in most businesses. It mightn't be exactly 50 and exactly 5, but ballpark, that's what the averages are going to look like. Now, here's a question for you. Have you ever found that for this 50% of your customers, the bottom half of your customers, sometimes they take a disproportional amount of time to deal with? It's like Fred, who's going to the BNI networking breakfast meeting, has to have his business cards that morning. You give them to him, the proof. He changes the proof twice. And you're going, it's a £17 job. I've got a platinum customer who's trying to give me £8,000 that I'm now keeping waiting while I'm making sure Fred has his business cards for his BNI breakfast meeting. Or Mary, much as I love her, who's trying to get a wedding stationery correct, and she's changed the proof 7 times so far because it wasn't just the way exactly she wanted it. You get the version, right? Doesn't matter what the version is. Who's done that sometime in the past? Yeah, look around the room. It's very instructive. Look around the room. So this is something you don't want to be doing. You do not want to be doing this. So if you look at this, this is actually a real customer. I've completely hidden, so you have no idea who it is, but this is actually customer data. We've changed, the company name is hidden, and we've changed the companies. And in fact, I changed the size of the accounts by a consistent percentage. So they're all changed by 20 or 30% in one direction or the other. So just a point, it's just so you know how to read this. Can everybody see this up here? Can everybody see the screen from where, if I'm standing here? Yep. Anybody not able to see the screen? Okay, everybody's good. So what we're seeing here is 50% of the revenue is coming from how many customers? And what percentage of the total database is that? And what's the average spend of those customers? Okay. Now, if you look over here, the bottom 50% of the customers are giving us what percentage of the revenue? And what's the average spend from those? Okay. So 5% of my customers are averaging how much? And the bottom 50% are averaging? So that's a 50 to 1 difference between 25,000 and 500. Do you see the difference? That's lifetime. That's not even lifetime value, because that's just in a given year. Okay. John, with his BNI business card, will never come back to me again, because he might go shop with Vistaprint the next time, because that was £4 cheaper, and the shipping and handling I didn't have to pay for. And I'm going, thank God he found Vistaprint. Personally, I wish more of my customers found Vistaprint, so I could focus on the folks who are actually going to spend some money with me. Is that an interesting, very simple piece of analysis? Yeah? So they're the elephants. Small number, so small hinges swing big doors. Small number of you customers are giving you most of the money in your business. So what we want to do is we want to segment them into 3 categories. So the platinum customers, these are really your ideal customers. These are the ones that give you the most money. Now, when we've sorted them in the Excel spreadsheet, we've just done it by revenue. Okay? You would also look at profitability. Any print management companies in the room? Just raise your hands if you're print management. Okay. Do you want to know the difference between a print management company and a normal printer? Who'd like to know the difference between a print okay. It's not what you think it is. Print management companies can usually sell better. Well, no, just think about it for a second. Why are you using the print management company instead of going and getting the customer yourself and taking the 24? They're buying it from you for 100 and they're selling it to the customer for 120. Why are you even playing that game? Because who said it? Because they're better? They're better salespeople. That's why. It's a selling system. That's the simple answer. You could give a more complex answer, but that's why. Now, you may have print management companies that are in your platinum accounts. That's possible. And you go, they're not loyal. The margin is nearly non-existent. It just keeps the press busy. They're not going to be a platinum account. Or they will be a platinum account because I see some long-term opportunity. So the revenue is just the initial starting point. You then have to look through. Does that make sense? So your platinum, your ideal client. We'll come back to the gold in a second. The silver, so the platinum are someplace between about 5 to 20% of your revenue. In your particular business, you need to look and go, how many do I want? So platinum between 5 to 20% of your customers, giving you between 50 to 80% of your revenue. Just so I'm really clear on that. So between 5 to 20% of your customers, giving you between 50 and 80% of your revenue. Your silver are from 50% of your customer database down. They're the silver. Guess what the gold are? The ones left over. Okay? That's the easiest way to do it. Do the platinum, do the silver, the gold are the pieces that's left over. Is that simple? So you want 3 different segments. So the platinum are the top 5 to 20% of your company that are giving you 50 to 80% of your revenue. The silver are the bottom 50% of your customers. The bottom 50% of your customers typically giving you about 5% of your revenue. The gold is everybody else. Is everybody got that? Anybody challenged with that? We're all good? Okay, fantastic. So here's what we want to do. Who's willing to be a volunteer? You don't have to do anything. That hasn't been a volunteer already. That was a very energetic hand up there. Fantastic. Luke, would you come up here, please? Okay. And we reward action. Kate? Yes. Okay. Can we put a bottle of wine on Luke's table? Oh, I think more than that. Okay. He's going, I'm getting wine too. It's the Adams family. It's fantastic. Kate, it is the Adams family. Okay, Kate, if you put it on the table, and Luke, would you come up to? You don't have to do anything, Luke. So just stand here, stand here, and be. So I'm going to tell a story, and you're just going to be a character in the story. You've nothing to do other than just look at the audience and feel relaxed. Look down there and feel relaxed. So imagine Luke is a young entrepreneur, and he's done well in business. And imagine I'm a struggling print salesman who keeps getting fired for jobs because I can't sell anything, any place, to anybody for any amount of money. I'm just next to useless because I've got no natural talent. Sound familiar, by the way? Yeah. Me earlier in my career. Anybody flown internationally, kind of long-haul flights in the last few years? Pretty much everybody in the room. Long haul. If you've flown long-haul, just raise your hands nice and clearly. Nice and clearly? Okay, so pretty much everybody in the room has flown long-haul. So if you're flying long-haul, how long do you have to be at the airport these days with the added security? Somebody said 2 days, yeah. I've had that flight too. How long? Yeah, 3 hours is the guideline days for long-haul flights. So Luke, being a successful entrepreneur, has got a lot of things going on. So he's got iPads and iPhones, and he's doing deals and kind of making money and etc. So when he gets to the airport, chauffeur-driven in his car, he doesn't get there 3 hours early. He gets there just under 2 hours, which is still just enough, but just enough. Me, on the other hand, who's a struggling print salesman, have got a bit of time on my hands because I'm not out seeing check writers. So I make sure I'm at the airport 3.5 hours. So he's 2, I'm 3.5 hours early to the airport because I want to make sure I do not want to miss the flight, which is a good kind of place to be, isn't it? You don't want to make sure you miss the flight. So we go through the security, check the bags in, all of that. I go down to the place where everybody's sitting eating bad food in the airport. Where's Luke in the airport? He's in the VIP lounge, right? Correct. They announce the gate 35 minutes before the plane's due to take off. I'm waiting, I'm like looking, going, they're going to announce it soon. They announce it, I'm off. It's 5 minutes to get down there, I'm down. I'm one of the first people down at the boarding gate. I'm ready to go. Gradually, people start to arrive at the boarding gate. We've all seen this before, we've all had this experience. And just before they start boarding people, Luke turns up, like just on time. So when they start boarding, now we know they boarding the plane, we know they put anybody needs special help, pregnant women, anybody that's kind of invalid, etc. Yeah, people with very young children. So once they're on board, who are the next people they're boarding on the plane? Loudly? First class. Now, what class do you think Luke might be flying as a successful young entrepreneur? He's flying first class. As a struggling print salesman, which end of the plane am I in? I'm in the back end of the plane, yeah, near the luggage area. So call them coach class, or cattle class as I like to refer to it too. So Luke gets on the plane. No, actually we haven't even got to the plane yet. So who's on the plane first? Luke or me? Luke. I was there way before him. So who should go on the plane first?
He paid 20 times what you did.
Actually, he probably did. Probably like some of your customers, giving you a heck of a lot more money. So who goes on the plane first? Luke. Because he's giving you a lot more money. He's been giving you a lot more money. Okay? So it's not about sequence, it's about value. What's it about? Value. Okay. So we get onto the plane, and we notice like the geography on a plane is really complex, isn't it? You can go right or left. I think it's fantastic that you go on and you give your ticket and they go, oh, that's down there on the right-hand side, going, it's only flipping numbers, and they run in a sequence and the 6 letters. It's kind of hard to get it wrong, but I appreciate the geographical support and finding my seat. I mean, if you can't find your seat on a plane, my view is you're going to be dangerous in another country. You'll never return. So when I go onto the plane, which direction am I turning? Am I going right or am I going left? Right. I'm going right. Where's Luke going? Okay. Now, I love planes. One of the experiences I particularly like on planes, I like eating plastic fruit off plastic cutlery. I think it's fantastic, which is served really well down in Cattle Class. What's Luke, my friend, young entrepreneurial friend, eating up the front end of the plane? Well, hopefully he's not eating the china, he's just eating off of the china, but proper food off of china, right? We get that. So when we get off the plane, who's getting off first? I'm beginning now not to like this guy, because I'm always there early and he's always jumping ahead of me. It doesn't make sense to me. So as it transpires, we both have reservations at a Marriott hotel. Now, in Marriott hotels, they have different classes of rooms, right? We all know that. They have different classes of rooms. So he has yes, thank you very much. He's been to the same hotel I've been to. So Luke has a suite booked, and I have a normal room, will be nice and call it. So I've got a normal room. Which one's more expensive? Now, young entrepreneur doing a lot of business internationally, which one of us is traveling more often? Luke's traveling more often. So which one's staying in Marriott hotels more often? Luke. Who's likely to have a loyalty card? Luke's, not me, right? So what's interesting is when you go to the Marriott hotel is there's 4 check-in areas, so 4 nice receptionists, 1, 2, 3, and then there's a special area. You know, because a big flight has just landed, it's busy in the reception area. Well, it's busy in 3 of the queues. Then there's this other queue for VIPs. Okay, so I'm in the other queue with the cattle. It's like I'm at the farmer's market with the cattle. Where's Luke? Okay, so yeah, he stopped off and had some, well, he's not actually. He stopped off and had something to eat in a restaurant and arrives. I'm still waiting in the queue. He comes in. I'm watching the bugger. He comes in, goes straight up into the other VIP queue where there's lovely, smiling, helpful receptionists and nobody waiting. And he's done, and I'm still edging my way forward in the queue going, I've just done an international flight, I'm exhausted, just get me checked in, will you? Anybody had these, by the way? Yeah, you just show me a bed, any bed. I'll sleep here now. Okay, so what have we just discovered?
The more you spend, the better you get what you pay.
Okay, so is it about sequence or is it about value? So is it about sequence or is it about value? Value. Is it about sequence or is it about value? Has he been given alcohol? Yeah. Kate, you've been given alcohol. Is it on his table?
I hope it's champagne.
Thank you, Luke. That was the easiest bottle of wine you're ever going to get. All you had to do was stand and look handsome for 5 or 10 minutes. So,
that's not easy, you know.
for me, it's not easy. For you, it was very easy. Okay. So here's what we want to think about: is we want service standards for our customers. Who's familiar with the concept of a service level agreement? Familiar with this concept? Okay, so it's like a set of standards by which we'll operate with customers. So you do not need to have a written service level agreement with your platinum customers, but you absolutely need an internal service level agreement. If you had a written service level agreement with a customer and you broke the terms of the agreement, would you have a financial consequence? If you had a service level agreement and you say, here's the terms we'll operate by, we'll respond with these times, we'll do things to this standard and this level, and then if you don't do them, is it likely that in the service level agreement there'll be some penalty clause that says you pay a penalty for breaking the terms of the service level agreement? Is that likely to be the case? Yeah, exactly. So your non-published service level agreement is the exact same thing. There is a penalty, but the penalty is you put the account at risk if you break the terms of the agreement. The customer doesn't come and say to you, you need to give me a rebate, but you will suffer on margin and you will suffer risk that you don't retain the client. Making sense? Yeah. So the things that need to go into your service level agreement are incredibly simple and it's very easy to do. So this is not complex. You can literally work this out on your way home. It's very, very simple. So there are 5 things: communication, estimates, proofs, production, and deliveries. So what are they? Communication, estimates, loudly, production, deliveries. And all you do is you say, if it's a platinum customer and they phone us or email us, what's the standard for when we get back to them? Well, no, immediately isn't an answer. I appreciate the input, Nigel. And fast is another great answer, but not that answer. So you have a standard that says it has to be, they have to get back to within 60 minutes, 2 hours. It's the standard. And it's so all communication to platinum clients we get back to within 2 hours. All estimates are done within 2 hours. I'm making numbers up. You make your own numbers up. All proofs are done within 4 hours for standard jobs. Complex jobs, we phone the customer and tell them how long it will take us. So if they give us a catalogue, that's obviously not going to get done in 2 hours or 4 hours. But normal jobs done, you decide. Production. Let's talk about production for a second. So when you've got a job that comes from a platinum client, you've got a production scheduling system at the moment, yes? Okay. So imagine you've got Graham, is it? Yeah. Graham, can I borrow you for a sec? Yeah. Okay. So imagine there's people that ask should get. People that ask should get. It's getting a bit too easy, so we're going to put the brakes on this a little bit. But Graham asked, and if you don't ask for a sale, what's the likelihood of you getting it?
You won't get it.
You might, but it's not very likely. God, my throat sounded fantastic there. I sounded like a parrot or something. So yes, there's one coming in your direction, Graham. The wine, so I'll have none to take home with me, but far better you got it than I had. Okay, right. There's drinking going to be going on under the table here for a second. So imagine there's a schedule at the moment. So it's all based on sequence. So Graham's job, my job, next job, next job, next job. Is that pretty much the way a production floor runs? So running in a sequence. And then a customer screams and goes, I have to have mine on Tuesday. So we do a bit of jumping in the queue. Is that pretty much the way it works? Yeah, kind of normally. So what we want to do is create a different system. So can I borrow you? So Chris? Chris? Okay, Chris. So what we're going to do is create a new little system here. So you're behind Graham. So this is job number 1. He's a platinum customer. This is job number 2. This is a silver customer. I'm now a new platinum customer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip past the silver and I'm going to jump in here. So now what we've got is 2 platinum jobs in the front of the queue. Does this make sense? Then there's another silver job comes in, a gold job, a silver job, and a gold job. And then there's another platinum job comes in. So that goes in here ahead of all the silver and gold. So now we've got a platinum, and a platinum. Does this make sense? And the way you do this, either you can do it by very simple process, change the color of the job bags, put a little color tag on the job bags, tag the customers in your MIS system. We've got 10 platinum customers, they're the 10 platinum customers. They're always first in everything. So you have kind of 2 queues. Make sense? So exactly like the airport, exactly like the hotel. Everybody follow the metaphor? Anybody not clear on this? If you're not clear, raise your hand. Okay. People had their hands up, have just put their hands down. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, loudly. Okay, fantastic. Okay, woo, woo. I'm not sure what that was about. He's watching too many cowboy and Indian movies. Kate, this is it. We are stopping here. We're stopping here. We'll be phoning late weights up this afternoon going, we need an emergency delivery. Okay, Chris, we're putting the brakes on now. Kate's going, is there any left? We have water. We could turn it into wine later. That's a skill I'm working on. Does everybody follow that? It's very simple. The reason you want to do this is a bit of the question that Alison was asking me a little bit earlier, is when you've got a customer that's giving you, where you're giving them incredible levels of service that they're not going to get from somebody else, and you're making them aware of the things you're doing for them. So you go along to your customer and say, I wanted to make you aware we have 473 customers on our database. They do business with us. It's fantastic. Our business is doing really well. We have 7 platinum customers. You're one of our platinum customers. We give you unusual levels of service that you may not be aware that you get. I just wanted to explain to you what we do for you. A bit like I've done with the wine and the cheat sheets and the books. And so they go, oh. So when the competitor comes along and says, we can underbid this, you go, I understand they can underbid it. We are not going to match that price. Just wanted to let you know that. Okay? Our price is 3% more expensive. Let me explain why. So not only will the job be good and the same paper and all that, but we are doing things for you that most printers won't do because you're really important to us. And all we're asking you to invest in is another 3% over and above what the competitor is willing to do it from. If you want the cheapest possible print with the cheapest possible supplier and you're willing to take the risks and the impact on service and reliability and predictability and somebody willing to bail you out, you might want to choose the cheapest printer in the marketplace, which is not us. We're about being the best value for the types of things we do. Now, is that going to work all the time? No. Okay. But is it going to work sometimes? Yes. And it's the principle of the slight. Edge. Louder, principle of edge. So if you're doing this consistently, a lot of the times what will happen is you will never even get that conversation. It'll never even turn up because somebody will go, these people look after us so well. Now, if somebody comes and undercuts you by 18%, that conversation is going to turn up. Because you go, that's a bit too much of an impact. But somebody's trying to undercut you by 4, 5, 6, 7%. Often the conversation, and we know this from deep experience, dealing with printers all over the world, the conversation won't even turn up. Is to go, we get looked after so well, such an incredible level of service to do such amazing things for us, because you've only gotten a couple of things so far. We've got about 15, 18 things lined up for you. That makes sense? Now, is that easy? It's not complex, is it? It's just prioritizing. Make sense? Now, what will happen if you've got good salespeople? Who's got good salespeople here? Which might be yourself. Oh, this is funny. You should be seeing this from the front row. There's like no hands up, these hands up. These are the salespeople with their hands up, and then the owners are going like this. They're going, my salespeople are looking at me, but if you've got, it's funny. I get to have all the fun up the front. If you've got good salespeople, which your good salespeople will do is they'll go, Andy, I've got a really good prospect. I want to give, they're not spending any money with us at the moment. We've got a couple of test jobs coming through. I want to lock them in as a platinum customer. I want us to give them platinum level service while we're doing these trial runs with them. Yeah? So I want communication response times, production times, proof times, estimate times. Yes, you get it? We go, well, we've only got, they're not a platinum customer, but you want to get them. So part of your business model is the acquisition of platinum customers. You remember that? We said the success of your business is determined by a small number of platinum customers and a small number of platinum prospects. So here's the deal we come to. We go, Andy, so Andy's the salesperson. I go, Andy, we will put them on the platinum list. They're on the platinum list for 3 months. There's a review at the end of 3 months. Really simple. Your goal between now and 3 months is to get them spending at this level. If you get them spending at this level, we will put them stay on the platinum list for another 3 months. If they don't get to that spending level, you're not making enough progress in the account, and we need to have a conversation to decide what we need to do. I'm not saying we're going to do A or B, but we need a review at that stage. Otherwise, we'll just end up with lots of people on the platinum account not spending at platinum levels. Does that make sense? So that's how you deal with potential platinums. Because I had an experience about 3 years ago. I was working with a printing company, and they wanted help bringing in platinum prospects, which I've got a lot of skills in that area. I spent years of my life what I call elephant hunting. So I could go into any business in any sector and bring in big customers. Take a while, but I could bring in big customers, and a number of them, predictably, because it's a process. It's like production. It's a process. So I showed this company how to do it and helped them do it. They brought in 2 big customers, and they screwed up the jobs continually on both of the customers. So the potential customers went away again. Spent months, 6, 7, 8, 9 months working on them. Brought them in. 2 of the biggest customers would have been in the database, like literally at the size of the top 2 or 3. Nice, profitable work, because we did it in a way where we protected the margin. And then they messed it up, because they were putting despite telling them how to put in the systems in, they didn't stick to the systems. That you can't control. That make sense? So you want to when you're tracking potential prospects. So it's a choice. So you stop doing work based upon sequence and prioritize customers based upon value. Is that really simple? Yeah. Could you all do that? Yeah. Could you make that work in your business? Loudly. Could you make that work in your business? It's simple. If you don't do it, it has a consequence, because now you're doing it based upon sequence instead of based upon value. Okay? So that's strategic revenue. Does everybody now get what strategic revenue is? Most of the revenue in your business and the new revenue business is in the handful of a small number of customers and a small number of prospects. Good? Really simple. So let's talk about Platinum Plus Care.